So I have noticed a lack in videos out there that specifically teach anyone how to start learning to play metal guitar. And yes, there's a lot of basic videos out there that kind of teach you just the different basics on the guitar, but it's not specifically metal. It's going to be stuff kind of like your cowboy chords, you know, your E, C, G, D, all those different things, along with a few other miscellaneous items. But like I said, nothing really specifically teaches you how to start playing metal guitar. And I have been playing guitar for now over 20 years, and to be completely honest, that feels actually very weird to say. So I've been playing for a good while now, and I've had a ton of different experiences. Some of these experiences have been very hard lessons to learn, and some of them have been very enlightening moments as well. And I want to share with you guys how I started to learn to play metal guitar. And hopefully this might help out anyone that is in the same boat that I was in when I was first starting to learn. And to be completely honest also, there's only so many times that you can play Mary Had a Little Lamb before you just start to get completely burnt out on it all. Let's get into it. Now, before we completely get into the guitar playing part of this video, let me tell you guys about the different pieces of equipment that I had when I first started to learn to play metal guitar. For my guitar, I had an SG styled kind of off-brand guitar. It had the red body, a black pickguard. It was actually very, very classic stuff that you would see from bands like AC/DC. This was an awesome guitar, and the brand name was Samick, and I actually don't even know if Samick is even around anymore, but that was my guitar. And for my amplifier, I had a Line 6 Spider 3. It is a solid state, a digital amplifier. But for those of you that have checked out the Spider amplifiers from Line 6, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me, the Insane mode on red just hits so freaking hard. But you don't need to throw a ton of money into your gear, especially when you are just starting out on guitar, because you just need something that works. And there's a lot of really great budget items out there that you can choose from. The first brand I'll recommend to you guys is Joyo. They make some amazing pedals and amplifiers for a great budget price, and they sound absolutely awesome as well. Another company I recommend is Harley Benton. They make some of the best budget guitars out there, and just like with Joyo, these guitars are amazing. I've actually covered some of their guitars on this channel right here, and they come at a budget price, but if I'm being completely honest, these guitars are actually very, very solid guitars, and they will last you a very long time. If you want to go more of the digital route, something on your computer with like a plugin, I definitely recommend the Ampknobs from Bogren Digital. And today I'm actually using the BDH3 amp knob from Bogren Digital. It is an amazing plugin, and all of the amp knobs, you literally cannot screw it up. It is one single knob, and you just choose how much distortion, how much gain you want on it, and you are set. Everything is already set for you, and you get a fantastic tone. And for any of you guys that are interested, the guitar that I'm playing today is by no means a budget guitar, but this is my favorite guitar at the moment. This is a Balaguer Diablo prototype with a multi-scale Evertune built in here. And you'll notice that the frets on this guitar are slanted. So this is a multi-scale guitar, and like I said, this is my favorite guitar at the moment, so I figured I would just bring this onto the channel for this video. But if you guys are interested in any of these products that I've listed out here, or any of these brands that I've listed out, I will have a link down in the description that you guys can check out for yourself. Now, as of right now, I am definitely more of a modern metalcore kind of guitar player. I'm really into bands like Bless the Fall, like Wage War right here, also Motionless in White, and I take a lot of inspiration from these three bands, among many others as well. But I am definitely a modern metalcore guy right now, but it wasn't always that way. When I was first starting to learn guitar, I was still in the general area of rock, but I was more listening to pop punk, you know, bands like Sum 41 or Bowling for Soup, Blink-182. One of the more notable songs that I first learned when I was first starting to play guitar was The Kids Aren't Alright from The Offspring. And I remember hearing that guitar riff for the first time ever, just the whole That was the coolest guitar riff in my own opinion. And honestly, to this day, I still absolutely love that intro to that song. It just sounded so cool. And that's where I was introduced into palm muting. So as far as palm mutes go, they are absolutely pivotal for any metal guitarist. You're gonna hear palm mutes in just about every single metal song that is out there right now, anywhere from songs from Metallica, songs from Bullet for My Valentine. Palm mutes are across the entire general scope of metal guitar. And palm mutes are essentially doled out notes. So this is a palm mute. And then here is an open note. It's pretty different, right? It adds a lot more dynamics into your playing. And when I heard The Kids Aren't All Right, I instantly went to my guitar teacher, at least at the time, and I had him try to teach me that intro riff there. And it actually took me quite a while to kind of figure it out. So I'll kind of explain it to you guys the best way that I can. So for palm mutes, all you have to do is take your picking hand right here and lay it across the bridge where the strings leave the bridge. And just kind of lightly lay your hand there. You don't have to push too hard or anything like that. And then from there, you pivot your picking hand so you can pick the strings. And you're gonna hear palm mutes in all kinds of different ways. You're gonna hear them in chugs. You're gonna hear them in more complex riffs like this. Palm mutes are a very important technique for any metal guitarist out there. And for me, palm mutes was a very enlightening moment for me where I learned that I was never the same again. And it just totally took me from right here to all the way up here, because you hear palm mutes in every single metal song just about. They are very, very important. Now, as soon as I learned palm muting, it was literally game on from that point. I was going out and I was learning all of my favorite bands at the time's music using tablature. And for anyone that is wanting to understand tablature, basically, it is a bunch of lines and numbers on each individual line, depending on where the note is. And when you're looking at the bottom line, that is going to be the lowest string on your guitar. And the line on the very top is going to be the highest string. And then, of course, you have all the other strings in between in consecutive order. So if you have a 5 on the second up string from the bottom, it's going to be on the 5th fret on the second string up. Right there. So yes, I took tablature from all of my favorite artists and I just went out and I learned all of their songs, or as many of their songs as I could learn. And this is something that's very important because when you're learning all of these artists' different songs, you're taking different pieces and different techniques from them, and you're putting them all together, and eventually that's what's gonna form your own style of playing guitar. Of course, there is a gray area of this as well that you have to be careful of, and that is if you are learning just solely metal songs from bands in the same metal genre, then you do run the risk of sounding exactly like those bands. So I always recommend check out bands from different styles. I mean, a band that is totally out of left field for me is a band called Incendio. They're definitely more of the finger-picking flamenco style band, and their music is the equivalent of you sitting on a sandy beach with a pina colada in your hand. It is awesome. I absolutely love Incendio, and they are some of the best guitarists that I have ever heard. And that way, I'm able to take different note combinations from Incendio and incorporate it into something that is more metal, something more heavy, and taking these different things from bands that are outside of your scope of genre and combining them with your main genre will really set you apart from any other musician. And this is absolutely huge for anyone that is wanting to write their own music, because this is stuff that I do for my band, Purge The Heretics. and it sounds absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and fast forward a couple of years. So obviously I have been playing guitar for a little bit now, and I had been getting a lot more proficient at it, and I finally got hooked up with the best guitar teacher that I had ever had. His name is Brett Funk. Yes, that is his real name. I shit you not. So Brett was teaching me a lot of songs from like 70s, 80s, bands like Tesla. He taught me Hang Tough, some stuff from AC/DC. There was a lot of those kind of bands, and that introduced me to a lot more like technical solo playing, different rhythm types and stuff like that versus the pop punk, which is a little bit more straightforward. And then I had a friend of mine that introduced me to the band Bullet for My Valentine. And this was right after Scream Aim Fire had come out, and oh my God, guys, like, yes, I had been dabbling a little bit into the metal genre before this, like bands like Breaking Benjamin. I was listening to Diary of Jane. There was Animal I'd Become from 3 Days Grace, but I had never quite taken the header into metal until I heard Bullet for My Valentine's Scream Aim Fire. This was a pivotal moment, a very enlightening moment. The first metal bombshell that I had ever had. The guitars were massive. The drums were just so heavy hitting. This was a really, really cool moment. And from there on forward, I had been going straight into metal guitar. And that's where I learned the importance of down picking versus alternate picking. So down picking, you're gonna have more of a in-your-face kind of aggressive feel, kind of like this. And then alternate picking, you're gonna have a little bit more technical. You can play some faster stuff. You can kind of go back and forth on the strings. And that's kind of the difference on that. I usually don't use alternate picking on my chugs unless I'm playing some like really fast, like breakdown stuff, like something like that. But it's really important to have intent on which type of picking you're going to be using. I mean, down picking, like I said, it's in your face, it's aggressive, and I think it's really important to have that intent to know exactly what you're gonna do. Now, at this point where I was taking lessons from my guitar teacher, Brett, he taught me the importance of taking care of your instrument. And this may not be pivotal for metal guitar, but I think it's a very important thing that anyone learning the guitar should know. And that is just taking care of your instrument. So I like to change my guitar strings when I'm regularly playing on my guitars once every 2 months or so, because when you're playing on your guitar and your fingers are on the strings, it oxidizes, it builds up all kinds of grime, and your strings become very dull. And this kind of gets a little bit into the recording realm of things as well, because you never want to record guitar with dull strings on. So I would restring the guitar, and Brett taught me how to oil my fretboard because I am living in Colorado. It's very cold sometimes. It is extremely dry just about all the time here, and certain woods don't do very well in the dry climate up here. So oiling fretboards is extremely, extremely important, at least on certain types of woods. And also polishing up your guitar, making it look nice, making it something that you are proud to play. And this is something that I just cannot stress to new guitarists enough. Now learning more metal guitar licks and everything, I started to get into a realm of guitar that was much more complicated, much more complex. I mean, I would take some of the more complicated things that Brett would teach me from, 70s and 80s bands, and I would take that even further into more solos, more intense things like sweep picking was something that was really big for me. And I learned that because I was such a huge fan of Avenged Sevenfold. Sinister Gates, for the longest time, was my hero, essentially. And sweep picking is absolutely awesome. Yeah, I won't get too much into sweep picking on this video, mostly because I have this video here for the beginners that are wanting to learn metal guitar. But when I was learning sweep picking, when I was learning those more complex and very fast pieces, I discovered the importance of a metronome. And this was, I will say, a very hard lesson for me as well, because metronomes, it's just a click. It's a click for every beat of whatever tempo you have set at, and it is extremely boring. I definitely understand that. So what I would do with the metronome is I would come up to a song that was too complicated for me. I couldn't play it just from looking at the tabs and right out of the gate. And I would take these pieces, I would slow it down pretty intensely, and I would just drill those pieces. And then once I got comfortable on those guitar parts, I would bump it up maybe 5 beats per minute or 10 beats per minute on whatever I was comfortable with. And I would gradually get faster and faster at playing that piece until I was at full speed on it. So that's something I can definitely say for a lot of beginner guitarists. And also another thing that I just cannot stress enough is use a metronome. It is incredibly important, and that's something that's going to help you drill your speed and get it going until you're all the way at the top there playing your favorite lead parts, your favorite really intense solos and stuff like that. So that was definitely something that was incredibly important for me. So at this point, now I'm playing a lot more lead work. I'm playing more complicated parts. I'm learning stuff from bands like Avenged Sevenfold, Kill Switch Engage, Escape the Fate, and Bullet for My Valentine. Those were like the 4 bands at this point in my life where I was just absolutely in love with everything that they did. And then Escape the Fate was kind of my bridge into some of the heavier stuff, more of the chuggy chug breakdown stuff with like Asking Alexandria, stuff you'll see with Bless the Fall, to name a few. And with those chugs, I really found out how important synchronizing your right hand and your left hand really is. And of course, it sounds very simple. Of course, you're going to want good synchronization between the 2 hands when you're playing guitar, but it really didn't sink into me as much until I was playing those like really intense breakdowns. And it's like having that good synchronization, especially during the breakdowns, is where you can mute the strings in between your chugs to keep those breakdowns extremely, extremely tight. So what you can do to practice the synchronization between your right hand and your left hand, just like I said, is use chugs in like a breakdown. You can do something kind of like this. And just kind of do something like that over and over again until you have that down and that super, super tight sounding. So that is how I learned metal guitar, and these are a bunch of the different techniques that I found extremely helpful and the techniques that made me into the guitarist that I am today. I really hope that this video helped you guys out, especially anyone that is just starting out and wanting to learn metal guitar. So let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any questions, and also if you found anything very helpful in this video. Other than that, if you are enjoying my videos in any way, shape, or form, please consider hitting that subscribe button and that like button, because it helps me out a ton here on the channel. And with that being said, my name is Chris with High Impact Audio, and I will see you guys in the next one.